Hi and welcome back. Now, quite a few months ago I made a video about one of these tiny little telescopes that clips onto your camera on your phone and increases the magnification. And the guys at GearBest saw this and they said, hey Fred, we sell these as well, and if we send you a slightly larger one, would you be interested in making a review? So I replied back and said, yeah, no worries, just send it over and we'll give it a look on the Fred in the Shed 1 channel. And true to their word, and a few weeks later it turned up fresh from China. So here it is in its box, called the Panda Binocular. It's really a monocular, it's not obviously a binocular there, but we'll forgive them for that. And yeah, obviously you saw the price there, really cheap, under £10 UK delivered. I imagine probably about $12, something like that. So not expecting too much for that kind of price, you really can't sort of expect sort of a Nikon quality device here. But anyway, here it is. So, out of the box, seems to be quite nicely packed. So you do get some instructions, and yeah, they are in English, but sort of very pidgin English, and well, you're not really going to worry too much about those. So moving on to the scope itself, and I can see straight away that it comes in a little carry case, which is is always sort of quite nice, especially at this price. And we've got a couple of accessories and a little wipe here that you may want to use for sort of cleaning the lens, try to keep sort of fingerprints off it and stuff like that. This is the adapter part, obviously, that clips onto your mobile phone. It is plastic and it does have rubber kind of coating. And this is, I assume it's an adapter that will put it onto the eyepiece of the scope itself, but I'll do that off camera. Quite conveniently comes with one of these little kind of tripod affairs. Yeah, not had much success with these in the past, to be honest. I find them a little unstable, but it's quite nice that it's included. And then we've got the scope itself. Not to forget, of course, it does come with the obligatory lanyard, like everything else does sort of these days. And yeah, well, here's the scope itself out of the case, and well, yeah, straight out. It's rubber coated and it's quite light. It doesn't sort of seem too bad. It's got eye caps here. The sort of the secondary lens eye cap isn't attached, unfortunately, so you probably sort of might lose that. But the main objective lens here does sort of attach itself by a little sort of rubber tag. So looking at the sort of scope a little bit more close now, it does appear that it might have some sort of coating, and it's got this weird thing on the side. It turns out it's a little compass. Not quite sure why you'd really need that, but the main focusing wheel is on top here, and that's sort of quite smooth. Secondary objective lens is sort of reasonably sort of big, and the main objective, yeah, that looks sort of quite big. It's not 50mm though. Claims to be 50. I'd say it's more like 40, but it does have a sort of greenish coating on it, which is imagine is sort of anti-reflective coating or something. So looking through the sort of tube assembly, unfortunately I was disappointed to see there's some black resin right across the secondary element. That just shows really poor manufacturing quality there, and obviously no checks. But it shouldn't really affect the image, but it's a shame that it's there. So here's the scope itself. Now on the back here it claims 35 by 50. Well, we know it's probably almost mainly a 40 sort of objective lens. 35 is a hell of a magnification. I don't think it's going to be optically anything like that. Now the focusing is a bit weird. These are normally a zoom scope. So the top sort of adjustment would be the zoom, and then the one at the back would be the focus. Both of these just seem to do focus, which is sort of a little bit odd. I'm not quite sure what was going on there, but it did actually focus quite clearly, as you'll see. But that's a little bit odd, so I think they copied the sort of zoom design and didn't quite go through with it. So, it's a pity about the black resin inside the tube assembly, but lens caps sort of, go on, they work okay. They're probably no worse than on my Nikon Pro Staff binoculars. But yeah, in the hand today, it looks quite nice. It sort of feels sort of quite light. Now we've got the adapter here. This is the bit that's you're going to use to attach to your phone, so you can use your phone's camera. Now this just sort of pushes over the sort of rubber eye cap here on the eyepiece. A little bit sort of loose. Probably going to look at that later on, maybe make that a bit more sort of secure. Okay, then we've got this little kind of tripod. Now I thought this would be a tripod mount at the bottom. You've got like a little kind of hook here, and had to get a pry-by on this to sort of undo it, but to be fair, once I did get it out, it does contain a standard tripod screw mount. So of course the idea is you screw in this tiny little sort of tripod. Now you are going to need a tripod at anything, 35 magnification for sure, but it's going to be quite awkward to sort of hold in the hand, and here it is, and well, it kind of balances okay, I suppose, but we haven't sort of put the phone on yet. Now, when it comes to sort of putting a phone, I was really wanting to use this sort of landscape-wise, so it would come out in the video sort of better. But, you know, when you try and clip your phone in, it just hasn't quite got enough grip to sort of hold it, and it would just sort of fall to the bottom. So, unfortunately, all the video capture and photos are going to have to be in portrait. But before I even think about taking this outside, I need to secure the mount because it does seem quite loose. I didn't want my phone smashing on the ground, so I used a little bit of tape just to sort of hold it in place. So let's get this outside. That was a bit of a dull, drizzly day like you get here in the UK. Now this first picture you're looking at, this is straight from the phone there with no zoom. And then the second one is the full optical zoom on the phone itself. But before we attach it to the mobile phone, let's have a look through the scope visually. The centre is sort of reasonably sort of sharp, but there is this rather distinct sort of barreling out of focus effect all the way around the outside of the lens, and that's a little bit disappointing. But this is designed to be used with a lens on a mobile phone. So the next picture you see here was shot with the scope attached to my phone. It doesn't look too bad at all, does it? But I was trying to use the little 3-pronged tripod that came in the kit, and here's a video clip of me trying to use that, and you can see how unstable that little tripod is. It's pretty much useless. So in the end I had to use the thread on the bottom of the scope and attach it to a proper sort of camera tripod, which I think you know, is probably the way forward. And once I did that, everything sort of settled down, and as you can see, things were a lot better, and I was able to use the full zoom on the phone. And you are going to have to use that zoom to crop out that beryl lens distortion. Okay, so now in this image we're on about half zoom on the iPhone here, and it's not too bad. I move into full zoom here, and do you know what? Actually, this is probably at around about 50 times magnification, and even when I crop into it, which is now probably at about 70 to 80 times magnification, it's actually not that bad for a little scope that costs less than £10 delivered. So, you know, as you can see, if you use the sweet spot of the lens, which is the centre, and ignore the outside, you can get reasonable results. And here I'm using my sort of camcorder again, and yeah, once again, you know, you've got that barrel distortion around the outside. If I sort of drop down to the ridge of these tiles here, you can sort of see sort of, you know, how much it does distort the image. And that's a shame, but there again, this is only a £10 monocular. So coming to the end of the conclusion, is this going to get a full Fred in the Shed thumbs up? Well, to be honest, no it's not. Mainly because of that black streak of resin inside the optical sort of tube. This little tripod, you know, it really isn't sort of fit for any sort of purpose with this sort of monocular itself. That's a bit of a shame. The monocular itself, well, it's sort of, you know, made reasonably well. I'm not kind of sure about this sort of two-tier focusing sort of system. You know, the top kind of adjustment is quite nice and smooth and linear. The one at the back works as well, but why you need two focus adjustments, I don't really know. 35 times magnification? Maybe. With the full zoom on your mobile phone used optically, I would say it's more likely about ×8, but it does have that larger 40 40mm main objective lens, and that certainly improves upon the last little scope that I reviewed, because the image is bright enough that you can zoom into that sweet spot of the lens with your phone and get some reasonable results. So I think that just about wraps it up. I'll leave a link to GearBest in the description if you want to purchase one of these for less than sort of £10. But as for now, as always, I'd like to say cheers, thanks for your view time, thanks for watching. Subscribe to see more videos. I'm doing more gadget stuff in the future along with radio videos. But as for now, as always, cheers, stay safe, and of course I'll catch you all on the next one.